Dear colleagues, welcome to this preparatory webinar to the next workshop related to the postmortem evidences and diagnostic approaches to understand why dolphins or how dolphins interact with fishing activities. This workshop is foreseen in the Life Delphi project, which is an international project funded by the EU Commission. And this webinar will be focused on legal frameworks and the EU or Med-Sea policies related to the conservation of cetaceans in these areas. It's important to know, or at least to understand, which agreements and international directive we have, because most of our efforts in performing necropsies are aimed to collect data, and these data are used within the development and implementation of these legal frameworks and all the policies in the Mediterranean Sea. One of the most relevant agreement concerning cetaceans worldwide is the International Whaling Commission. The International Whaling Commission is a commercial agreement between different states and different countries, and this agreement has two different initiatives that deal with the conservation, in particular the interaction with fishing activities, which are the expert panel for bycatch and the expert advisory panel on strandings. Both the two working groups are aimed to support member states and developing stranding networks, to increase their capability and knowledge on the assessment of bycatch or understanding cause of death. So the expert panel for bycatch is this initiative is aimed to give the mitigation measures to understand how to assess the interaction with fishing activities and gives guidelines on how to interact with these animals during stranding event or entanglement events. Regarding the expert advisory panel on stranding, this working group is mostly aimed to give advice to member states on the protocol, guidelines, and best practices to support training, organize training, and how to deal with animal strandings, both dead or alive, and to interact and give support in case of emergencies. The other relevant agreement is ACOMAMS. ACOMAMS is the agreement for the conservation of cetaceans of the Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and contiguous Atlantic area. And this agreement that has been signed by several countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea was implemented after the agreement of four different secretariats from four different directives and agreement, which are the Barcelona Convention regarding the protection of the Mediterranean environment and its biodiversity and habitats. The Bonn Convention, which is most related to the protection and conservation of the migratory species of wild animals. The Bern Convention, which is aimed on the natural habitats conservation and wildlife conservation. And finally, the Bucharest Convention, which is most focused on the Black Sea and the pollution in the Black Sea. This fourth secretariat agreed that to establish and implement this agreement for the protection of the cetaceans, and under the auspices of the Bonn Convention, which is a UN, so a United Nations organism aimed to protect the migratory species. The ACOMAMS was signed in 1996 and established in 2001, and part of the advocacy or the activities of ACOMAMS are mainly related to the implementation, preparation, and production of guidelines, protocols, and a recommendation to the member states in order to increase the conservation of cetaceans in these areas. The third relevant directive is the EU Habitat Directive, which is comes from the Bern Convention, and this Habitat Directive is aimed to ensure the conservation of threatened and endemic animals and plant species, both monitoring and mitigating threats to habitat and species. Regarding species, Tursops truncatus is included in Annex 2 and 4, and this means that we have to implement all the efforts we are able to limit and understand and limit all the threats menacing the conservation of bottlenose dolphins. In particular, the EU directive is establish a Natura 2000 ecological network of protected areas, which should implement these measures, this limitation, and in order to increase the conservation of cetaceans. Well, another relevant directive is the EU directive, the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, implemented since 2008. This directive is aimed to give or to study and monitor some good environmental status through indicators, 11 indicators, among which we can count the presence of cetaceans in some areas through monitoring activity, the effect of plastic ingestion and pollution on the health of some of these species, and the effect of underwater noise on cetaceans. So in order to, there are several other directives that ask for data and information from our field work, like the Illicit project, which is aimed to understand the effect of plastic on marine vertebrates. But this short list of agreements, directives, and the complete legal framework is functional to let you understand how it's important our work. Necropsies are generally aimed to understand the cause of death, but during necropsy we can gain a lot of data, the information, like plastic ingestion, like sampling tissues for pollutant evaluation. So our field work is the very first step to implement these directives, these agreements, and so the conservation of cetaceans. This is why we propose in the Life Delphi a homogenization and a harmonization of the protocols and procedures in order to collect data in a proper way and in a comparable way, and in order to assess at the same level which are the real effect of interaction with fisheries on bottlenose dolphin conservation. Thank you for your attention, and I will let the floor to the third webinar on forensic diagnosis.